And now it's time to get to the newspapers, share with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria today. We will squeeze in just 3 of them, I believe. We're joined this morning by Head of Strategy and Public Affairs, Nairametrics, Uade Ahimie. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Great to be here. My first time this month.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You are welcome.
I'm already here.
All right, let's quickly get into it. You know, starting with the Punch newspapers this morning. Big story there, of course. Cabinet reshuffle. Presidency defends Tinubu as federal government slashes ministers' vehicles and aids. Federal government differs as Clark and others allege lopsidedness. Tinubu seeks Senate confirmation. Tropical storm leaves 24 dead in Philippines flooded.
Oof, not good. See the picture.
Yep.
Senate, what's happening in Lokoja.
OK's 15% states funding for regional development commissions. Broken aircraft windscreen aborts Shetima's Samoa trip. I heard about that. You know, he had to abort a trip in the United States. Naira devaluation pushes federal governments and states' debts to 134 trillion naira. Ooh. We can also find here military. NEMA combs sea for crashed helicopters, passengers. Police hunt gunmen as 9 are killed in fresh Anambra attack. Pensioners threaten protest as federal government and 4 states owe 193 billion naira. Those are the stories we can take in on the Punch. Moving on to the Daily Independent newspapers this morning.
And on the front page of the Daily Independent, Port Harcourt's crash is the big story. How we lost contact with helicopter we engaged by NNPC Limited. 8 persons on board killed as NSIB investigates incident. Former NEC chairman Nwosu dies at 83. Ekiti government wants headers to steer clear of its agric investment. Reps urge CBN to gradually phase out old Naira notes. Why we are reviewing laws of Nigeria Federation after 20 years by AGF. Betta Edu woo foreign investors say confidence return to Nigeria's economy. Tinubu to overhaul livestock sector, cut $1.5 billion annual import bill. Flood, Governor Ododo drills boreholes at IDP camps and provides relief materials. To cut costs, Tinubu limits ministers, others to 3-vehicle convoy. I'm sure we have a nice video of his convoy there that we can share. Funding for regional development commissions divides Senate. And that's all we have on the Daily Independent. Let's move to This Nigeria.
All right, just a few stories on This Nigeria. Stop moving in long convoys. Tinubu orders ministers. I'm not even sure what this means. Reduces official vehicles in convoys to 3 for ministers. MDAs downsizes security. Presidency says directive part of cost-saving measures. Mixed reactions over policy. I'm not even sure if the president is meant to be the one to detail how many cars a minister should move with. Is there? Well, hopefully they would know better. Senators split over source of funding for zonal development commissions. 8 die in Port Harcourt helicopter crash conveying NNPC staff. Arnez and others mourn Humphrey Nwosu as he dies at 83. Let's just get into it. I think I would start with the stop moving in long convoys talk. You know, of course, on the Punch, it also says the same thing. You know, the president trying to reduce the number of cars, vehicles, and aids. Is that the way it works?
How does it work?
I'm asking, is that the way it works? Can the presidency just say the convoy is too long?
Yeah,
reduce?
So they work for the president. So it's like the MD saying that we need to cut our costs. So rather than go out, each marketing person go out with 1 car. You reschedule or plan your trip so that 2 can go within the same area and use 1 car. So rather than use 4 cars, use 2, that kind of thing. But for me, yes, it is an avenue to cut costs, because when you consider the fact that, especially when ministers have to go out of station, because they're mostly based in Abuja, it means that if you're going with 5 cars, you have at least 2 extra cars and extra aids that you have to cater for, where you pay out of stations, you fuel those cars, and so on. So at least for the aids, you cut that, which is what has been done. Your most important aids are the ones who will go with you to whatever meeting or sessions that you need to go for. So that's one. But the other part of it is that, yes, 2 cars down, but the cost of petrol has gone up. So technically, how much are you going to save from there? But in the long run, for me, and the bottom line is, I'm not even sure that will even scratch the surface of the kind of cost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, how this works.
To cut down on, Yeah, but that's the directive. So the other question is, if they flout that directive, what punishments are going? What are the consequences for flouting those directives? We saw the president, I think it was sometime last year, reducing the number of people who go on foreign trips. Has that been really effective and executed by those who are supposed to monitor it? What are the outcomes? Who has been penalized for doing A, B, C, or D? And which is always, for me, the major challenge I have. Policies are being written, but execution is sometimes non-existent. And even when you execute and people flout those execution in terms of how the policies are meant to be executed, nobody is penalized. There are no consequences. So what are the consequential issues here too? Is it just another front page news that we're just going to talk?
It's difficult to put them together, saying that they're trying to reduce cost of governance by telling people to reduce the number of cars in their convoys. I mean, like you said, it barely even scratches the surface, and
maybe they punch the numbers in terms of fuel, in terms of AIDS, in terms of cost to AIDS, and they feel is going to.
Can you take a look? We're informed that
this is the president's convoy. You know the number of cars that governors roll with.
Well, let's also,
and we're talking about governors, commissioners, ministers.
At the point in time, some people said it was.
I started counting late, really late, and from where I started counting, it was 15. Can we start again? Actually, I started counting late. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
That's 5.
7, 8.
That's another 5. That's 10. Behind that is 3. That's 13. So that's the first set of cars is 13, and then you have this is 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 plus 13, that's about 20 cars. Let's say
29.
Cars.
No, they're not done.
Okay,
wow.
So the first set was 21, that's 24. You add these as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13, that's 37.
43 actually. So our team is counting as well.
You remember that there's going to be 2 bikes, or 4 bikes
that have gone ahead.
Exactly.
So
but the point is, I don't even know. I'm just tired because.
But like I said, the point for
what
me
does it even mean?
Have you punched the numbers to see whether it actually scratches the surface of the cost that you are cutting? And that's it. Because you reduce it from 5 to 3. Fuel has doubled.
How many were they doing before? Were they really doing 5?
I don't know.
Was there even
what the implication
specific
is.
number that they were doing before? Because another thing.
But the statement is cut it from 5 to 3. So invariably, that's basically what they were doing, what they should have been doing.
But I mean, so let's even go back to what it was before. It's not like anybody expected it would change, because we all know it's not going to change.
We don't.
We know. Listen, every year. Okay, not every year. Every time there's a new Inspector General of Police.
They come and say they are withdrawing all the police, all the VIP protocol.
Orders are withdrawn.
Orderlies.
All roadblocks are taken away from our road. We never really see any of these things happen. And
if I want to travel tomorrow and I want to arrange a convoy, it's possible to make it happen.
If Mr. President,
if you require security.
No, I'm telling you that I'm not saying I will.
If you do require it, you can request from it. You can request for that from the Nigerian police, and they should be able to provide it for you, for as long as they have the availability for it. So it's not against.
If Mr. President says to his ministers, reduce your convoy, and the president is still rolling with a 50-car convoy, nobody's going to take any of that serious. And again, it barely scratches, it doesn't even scratch the surface if we're talking about reduced cost of governance. Keep in mind that there was a Premium Times report a couple of months ago saying that the president's wife, Remi Tinubu, had spent about 710 million naira on foreign trips as First Lady. And there's no official office of the First Lady. So,
in the Constitution,
yes. So, if we're spending that much, according to the Premium Times, then who are you to then be telling ministers to reduce your convoy numbers? Like, it sounds very deceitful.
And I agree with you, because we must lead by examples.
Exactly.
And this is what exactly you're saying. So if I'm the boss and I'm not, is walk the talk. Do you understand? And not speak the talk.
Anyway,
I don't want us to stay too long on that, but just to add to that, I completely see where you're coming from in terms of how it must be exemplified. And that's one thing that the current administration has been criticized a lot. In a number of their policies and their actions, it's always like, do what I say, don't do what I do, right? I can see the sense in cutting a convoy. I personally can see the sense because, like I mentioned earlier, every average Nigerian who is an influential person can have access to VIP protocol. When we're talking about how we don't have enough police people, we're talking about how we have a shortage of police personnel. Everybody shouldn't have access to 10, 15 protocol police or orderlies when they're moving around. Really just, it doesn't really make sense.
Let's get
But
your
let's
views on
move to
cabinet reshuffle itself.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's a major conversation.
Your thoughts on the cabinet reshuffle?
My thoughts.
In terms of, like, are you in support of it? Are there any names there that particularly stand out for you?
Well, maybe one in the 7 that were nominated. I know her background. I think it's Jumoke Oduwole. Let's see what she can offer. She's done a lot in terms of whether it's private sector or in academia, as the case may be. But the reality is, you drop 5, bring in 7, so you moved it from 48 to 50. You've merged some ministries, but you still have 50 ministers who are going to be paid from Nigeria's taxpayers' monies. Did we feel the impact of the 48 the last time? I don't think more than, in my own opinion, maybe about 8 of them. That you could actually say that, well, you could feel some level of impact, even if much of it was a lot of activities, but you could at least see some of it, a few things that had been done. But give or take, the 10 that you swapped, and I guess the Minister of Education lost his job because of the issues that you're having with how old you should be to graduate from secondary school and enter into a university. Because I know that a child, most likely through their parents or through their lawyers, have sued the federal government in terms of deciding how much it should be. Those things should be the determination of, yes, the educational system, which is clear. You're meant to start school at 6, 6 years of primary, 6 years of what's it called, which technically should take you to 18. But if you're brilliant and you're there, are you going to stop them from going to school? And the university system has also provided for that. I think it's 1 or 2 universities in Nigeria really before now, I'm talking about federal and state, that admit students who are 16 years, and you have to be 16 at a particular point in time. Every other university is an average of 17. So what are you saying? You want them, and in today's world, there are no jobs, no holiday jobs, so you want a child to take a gap year doing what? Might as well just go into school.
Yeah, but was that a good enough reason for him to be replaced?
It is really a controversial issue, and if Nigerians are speaking about it, then it is an issue that has to be looked at.
But here's the thing: if that singular issue or that singular policy,
I didn't feel his impact. But if your policies that are being seen to stagnate young Nigerians into going into universities or learning a trade, because the same thing you're saying is, if I want to go into a technical school after I graduate from what's it called, it means technically I have to be 18. That's what you're basically saying, that the educational system should be.
Yeah, but my point is that may be a policy a lot of people don't agree with, including yourself. Fair and good. But would that normally be good enough for a minister to be replaced? Because you can simply have that conversation with Mr. President or with the rest of the people in the ministry, and everybody says, okay, maybe we need to reverse this one because there are other things that are going on with the ministry.
It's a big enough issue for Nigerians to be speaking about it. And and it's a big enough, for me, in my own opinion, it's a big enough issue to take him away, because you sat down there with your advisors and those in the ministry.
In that case, no minister should be there.
Well, I seem to agree with you. Like I said, I probably can count 5. I'm not sure I can count 10 on both my fingers, but yeah. But like I said, you swapped 10 to different positions. But how many of them have we seen or have we heard? Well, like the president said, you should go out and tell Nigerians what you're doing. But the people who are invariably doing the work, they're not going out to tell Nigerians. It's Nigerians telling their stories.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. And that's how governance should be. And it's the same way, like governors or governors will come out and say, see how much work I've done. No, it's not for you to tell us how much work you've done. It's for the members of the state to tell you how much work you've done, which is your work. Your work is meant to provide the infrastructure, ensure that these things, social amenities are available. Well, you build a hostel and then you come on TV. You spend more money promoting it on TV that you build it's not even a hostel, a 3-block classroom that would accommodate less than 200 students. And these are the issues that we need to start to talk about.
Right.
So it's not for you, and like I said, it's a big enough issue for you to take away the minister. It is a big enough issue, and it's a big enough issue when you say you're supposed to have fixed roads, and we can't even see that roads are being fixed or work is being done. Then it's a big enough issue if Nigerians are dying on those kind of roads for you to take away a minister. And the same way, big enough issues if Nigerians cannot have access to get their passports, do you understand, or go to the airport and be able to travel conveniently without the harassment of security operatives. It's a big enough issue, and if you're listening, those are the kind of things that you can kick the minister away.
Yeah.
And if you see those who are trying to do that, then you should actually say that we can see some form of activity going on, and that activity is in the right direction.
All right, I'm going to ask you about one particular one when we come back. Lenin, good morning.
Good morning, sir. It's been a long time. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes. I want to talk about this, the issue that the president said he has reduced the convoy of some ministers and the rest. Yeah, all these things is just for optics, so that people would think that the government is doing something. My own is that if Nigeria is we are truly serious in this country, if you want to solve the issue of insecurity, strip off all the ministers, their security details, the 360 National Assembly members, strip them off all their security details, and 109 senators, all their security details, you see that they will work. Because when you go out, if you go out alone, without all these things, you'll be able to you fix something. Because, look at education now. All their children, these people I mentioned now, all their children and their grandchildren are not in Nigeria. So they cannot, even the former minister, they just released of his job. His grandchildren are not in Nigeria schooling. If you check, one of the grandchildren will be in the university by 15, 16 years. But here he comes to Nigeria to impose something, and 1960, 1980, this thing, theory in 2024 that everybody's working with gadgets. So the problem we have is our leader, is the system. These people, they don't care about us. I always say they don't care. Whatever they do, whether ministers have 10 convoys on the rest, other one, just like the minister of FCT, that is the governor now, Emperor of Nigeria. If you see Emperor of Abuja, it doesn't work going. You think that it's one emperor like that. Keep him up to 3 or remove the division. Security will work in Abuja here. Thank you.
I wanted to, ask about, you with, Nairametrics, I believe that, you would know if there's been any improvement in the solid mineral sector. And if, our Minister of Solid Minerals, should remain.
Well, there has been activity.
Yeah, there's the establishment of mine marshals.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what they are meant to do. And it's funny. And why do I say that? I remember, I think it was in the 80s or so, and where what today is the National Civil Defense Corps that has turned into an arm carrying when it was set up. And I was wondering, what was their role then under, I think it was under Babangida or so, or 87 or thereabout. And what was their role? And today, so everybody is looking for some form of uniform people. Are you with me? Mining defense force. Excuse me? What happened to the Nigerian police? So all these people that you're employing, why don't you set the Nigerian police system better and provide more policemen for Nigeria? You're going to employ how many people? I really don't know. So when you set up this force, you set up that force, you set up that force, at the end of the day, maybe combined forces, you have another 300 to 500,000 Nigerians. And we're telling you, employ more policemen. Why don't you just get those 500,000 people into the Nigerian police force and train them properly
security matters
to understand the judicial system? I always continue to refer to it. the judicial system, which starts from security, that's policing. It's not the judges, it's the policing. And then it goes from there to the Office of the Public Prosecution before it even gets to court. So when we don't do this and we're continuing to say this is a marshal or that is a marshal or this is not a marshal, traffic policemen, we have last mile in Lagos, you have this one in Ogun, yeah. But traffic policemen, the ones that you call yellow fever, you can count them on your fingers when you walk, when you drive around or walk around the streets of Lagos. What happened to them?
Yeah.
So why are we setting up new bodies for things that are already in existence rather than getting people into them?
But talk about the ministry itself, solid mineral.
Oh, huge opportunities.
Yeah.
Huge potential.
16 months gone.
Yeah, but like I said, their activities, it says they're working on the mining policy. It can take a bit of time. And let's remember, it's not just one mineral we're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it could take a bit of time to get the right framework and structure that would address the different aspects of it, because the way you mine copper is different from the way you mine ore. So all those things have to be clearly stated. Are they being done correctly? That's a question that I don't know. But rather than that, what they're doing is that they have a force who they say they want to combat illegal mining. Why don't we just open up that system and have a policy that works? Put think tanks together along with all the people, and it shouldn't take us maybe 3 to 6 months to put a policy in place and then start to drive that policy. It's taking you 16 months and we still don't have a policy. But let's also remember when Fayemi, yes, he was the Minister of Solid Minerals. There was a policy that was done for solid minerals. So what happened to that? I can remember clearly. So are you saying that he didn't do anything?
Okay.
I'm just pointing it out.
I wanted us to also talk very quickly about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Now we see the last 2 people who have been there have been very suspicious. There's a new person there. We haven't heard about Betta Edu. I want to
She's
assume
on suspension now. She has been relieved of her duty.
Obviously, this would now mean like she's automatically no longer a minister. But
Yes.
what then happens after that? Are we expecting to hear that
we're
EFCC
still-
has done
Well, they say
investigation?
they are still doing their investigations.
So do you think that they would ever conclude that investigation and would know? Because it's one thing for you to say...
I can't speak to that because I don't work in the FCC. But you see, the fact remains this. It just goes to tell me that are you really ready to really fight the corruption you say you want to fight? Because I don't think that investigation it's over a year.
Yeah.
Exactly. So does it take 1 year?
No, I don't think it's over a year. It happened sometime this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
earlier
this
in the
year.
year. Yeah.
Almost,
I think.
we're heading in the direction of
check.
1 year.
Yes. Give or take, almost a year.
Exactly. Now, so what impression are you giving to the Nigerians? So I fired her, but there are no consequences. Invariably, what you're telling me is that she did nothing wrong. And she was suspended for so long. Yes, there was a Minister of State, I guess, who was running the place, who is now the substantive
10 months.
minister.
10 months.
Yeah, who is now the substantive minister.
Yeah.
So yeah, things have been happening, but we've been seeing that the palliative system has been working. Are you with me? We spend so much money on palliatives. Those who have received them, I can't count. But money is in the government has said that monies have been sent to households into their cash accounts and stuff like that.
Although I haven't met anyone personally.
Well, you don't need to meet. We are 200 million Nigerians.
I know. I haven't heard of.
And I don't think you fall into the category of poor.
How do you know?
That's yeah. Here, look at. Well, yeah.
Do you know?
I am telling you that you see. So some of these things also is based on the perception. Are you with me? Who is perceived to be poor? But the reality for me, like I continue to say, is palliatives never work. They're short-term things that you need to do.
Yeah.
Build a system that will create production, and means that you need to get people to go to work and earn money
And also
spend
provide an environment, that makes,
exactly.
And it's just that pending when those production systems kick into effect,
And you
people
see,
are going to eat until then.
So I agree with you. But you see, these systems, are you with me, tend to invariably make people lazy. Go and look at all this. all over the world where these kind of systems are. In the UK, in the US, they try as much as possible to push people.
So maybe we can
and I
give a
remember,
timeline?
and I remember in the 70s, late 70s, when Thatcher became, what's it called, that he practically reduced the number of housing because people were just taking advantage of them. You refuse to go to school, you refuse to get an education, you refuse to train yourself because the government is just going to share money to you. But the truth of it is that we cannot become a productive country if people are actually not working and you don't create an environment for that thing to be done. And the biggest issue here for me is insecurity. Nobody speaks about it that much anymore, but it's still there and is rampant.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for me, you know, the reason I pointed out the solid minerals, you know, conversation is really just to ask, you know, what really is the criteria, you know, with which we can say a minister didn't perform or a minister, you know, is poorly performing.
Well,
you know,
I don't know, but you know that.
Why can't we give everybody
but
time?
let's also remember that the president set up a team that reviews the performance of the ministers, and if they have provided a feedback to the president and is based on that, he makes his decision. Then all fair and good. And I think the criteria are clear. If you go online, you probably find them. And they met all that criteria. But like I said at the beginning, and I repeat now to close, I can't be the teacher who sets the exam, the student who writes it, and the examiner who marks it and said I scored 100%. So I just leave it at that.
All right. I wonder if you have a few thoughts. The former NEC chairman, Humphrey Nwosu, he's died at the age of 83. Remember the crucial role that he played in the June 12, 1993 elections. You know,
probably the fairest elections in Nigeria.
Yes, many have argued that is really the fairest elections that, you know, have happened. I want you to maybe speak to that very briefly as we move on. Some have urged the current administration. I saw where someone had said that he needs to be immortalized. They had asked.
I do believe he needs to be immortalized because he put his life on the line for an election that he believed was fair and fair, and he wanted the results to come out. Maybe now that he's gone in his biography, would finally find out. But someday we'll find out exactly what happened and how it came to be. But may his soul rest in peace. He died at the old ripe age of 83. Like I can say, the Holy Book says 70 years, and they gave him 13 years extra. So that's the celebration of life. Yeah. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Thank you very much, Uade Ahimie, for your time this morning and for analyzing these ministerial decisions with us.
Is he analyzing for me? Why do you put emphasis on the analyzing?
Because I'm an analyst.
We wish these new ministers, you know, the best. We hope that they survive to the end of the current administration.